All right, let's just dive right in. The news we're talking about today, it seriously sounds like it was ripped straight from a sci-fi movie script. Elon Musk has just gone ahead and merged his rocket company, SpaceX, with his AI company, xAI. And this isn't just some small corporate shuffle. No, this creates a single company that the private market is valuing at, well, an absolutely staggering number. Yup, $1.25 trillion. That's trillion with a T. Just let that sink in for a minute. We are talking about one of the biggest private market mergers ever, and it brings up a really, really obvious question. Welcome back to the channel, finance people. If you are just finding me, a hearty welcome from the JoshLM finance crew. I'll be your guide today. So get out your pen and pad and let's break this down. Because, on the surface, this whole move, it feels a little strange, right? He already controls both of these companies, so why go through the trouble of merging them? Well, like we're about to see, there's let's just say a very clever financial strategy behind all of this. All right, so let's start with part one, the trillion-dollar deal. What actually went down this week? Well, the news is that SpaceX officially announced its acquisition of xAI. Now, this isn't just some partnership, they are now one single unified company. And it sure looks like they're gearing up for a monster of an IPO. So where does that absolutely wild number come from? Well, let's just do the quick math here. Before this, SpaceX was already a private market behemoth, valued at roughly $800 billion. Then you've got xAI, the new kid on the block, but it was already pulling in valuations around $250 billion. So you put them together and, yep, you land at a combined $1.25 trillion entity. And this gives you a picture of just how massive the scope of this new company is. It's not just a rocket company anymore, which, let's be real, was already pretty cool. Now you've got this completely vertically integrated behemoth. You've got the rockets launching the satellites providing internet to the entire globe, and now the AI that can run on top of that whole network. That is one powerful combination. Okay, let's move on to part two, profit engine meets cash burner. This is where we get into the real meat of it, the financial logic, the why behind the whole thing. And it really just boils down to a classic Wall Street playbook move. You take a business that's printing money and you fuse it with one that's burning through cash but has insane growth potential. So, in one corner, you have SpaceX, which has become a legit profit engine. It's making serious cash. And then in the other corner, you have xAI, which, frankly, like every other major AI company right now, is just a giant furnace for money. It costs an astronomical amount to train these models. And if we look at the numbers for SpaceX, wow, it's allegedly pulling in something like $16 billion in revenue. And the crazy part, it's turning about half of that, $8 billion, into pure profit. A huge chunk of that is thanks to Starlink, their satellite internet business, which is just absolutely exploding. This thing is a real cash-generating machine. And then you flip the coin over. Developing this level of AI is just unbelievably expensive. You got to think about it. You need massive data centers. The electricity bills are insane. You have to hire the absolute smartest engineers on the planet. Some analysts are saying that xAI is allegedly burning through hundreds of millions of dollars every single month just to operate. That is a serious cash burn. Hey, and speaking of value, if you're getting something out of this breakdown, it would mean the world to us if you just tap that subscribe button. It's totally free for you, but it helps us out a ton. We are pushing so hard to get to our first 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you gets us closer to that goal. So thanks for the support. All right, let's get back into it. All right, part three, the grand IPO vision. So we get the basic financial logic, right? SpaceX's profits can now fuel xAI's massive spending. But this merger is about so much more than just balancing the checkbook. It's about crafting the ultimate story, the perfect narrative for what could be the biggest IPO in history. And this is the vision they're pitching to investors. And it is a big, kind of crazy one. Musk has literally talked about putting AI data centers in space powered by orbital solar arrays. Now look, is this happening next week? Of course not. Is it even technologically feasible right now? Probably not. But as a story to sell to Wall Street, it's brilliant. It's this massive long-term vision that tells investors the total addressable market isn't just Earth. It's the entire solar system. And when you have a vision that big, you can ask for a whole lot of money. The word on the street from bankers is that this IPO could aim to raise over $50 billion. That would shatter records. By merging these two stories, the narrative you're selling to investors becomes exponentially bigger, and that lets you command a much, much higher price when you finally take it public. So here's the grand unified promise they're selling. This is the whole package. Potential investors aren't just buying into a rocket company anymore, and they're not just buying into an AI startup. They're buying into a future where one single company owns it all. The AI models, the space infrastructure to run them, the global connectivity to deliver them, and all the real-time data flowing through that entire system. It's a story about complete and total technological dominance. Okay, I know that can sound a little abstract, so let me put it this way. Let's use a simpler analogy. Imagine you own a super profitable online business, maybe selling, I don't know, custom t-shirts. It just prints cash month after month. Now, you also own a risky tech startup that's burning through money but could be the next big thing. If you merge them, the profits from your t-shirt business can fund the startup's growth. And when you go to sell the whole thing, investors will pay a huge premium, not for the t-shirts, but for the potential of that startup. That's exactly the playbook here, just, with rockets and AI instead of t-shirts. Okay, final section here, risks and investor takeaways. Look, it can't all be good news and moonshots. A deal of this magnitude always comes with huge risks. So let's flip the coin and talk about the potential downsides and what all of this could mean for you as a potential investor down the road. So what are some of the red flags here? Well, for one, xAI's models have already stirred up their fair share of controversy and content issues. That's a headline risk you have to consider. Second, you're merging a major U.S. defense contractor, SpaceX, with a powerful AI company. You can bet your bottom dollar that regulators are going to be all over this. It's also really important to note, if you're a Tesla investor, you don't see any of this upside. This is a totally separate world. And finally, just from a practical standpoint, mashing two giant, complex companies together can create a real mess with corporate governance. And that's something that makes a lot of big investors pretty nervous. So what's the big takeaway for a potential investor? Well, the story, the tech narrative, is absolutely massive now. But that also means the valuation will likely be based on future potential, on dreams, not necessarily on current earnings. You should definitely expect a ton of hype and potentially a very heated, maybe even overheated valuation when this thing hits the market. So the bottom line is pretty straightforward. This merger creates a much higher potential reward, but it is directly tied to a much, much higher level of risk. And of course, I have to give our standard and very important disclaimer. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. It is definitely not financial advice. You should always do your own deep dive research before making any kind of investment decision. So this all leaves us with the trillion-dollar question, doesn't it? Is this a genius move to build the definitive company of the future? Or is it a massive, risky bet that's simply too big to fail? I'd really love to hear your take down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Please share it with someone you love, and I'll see you in our next video. Cheers!